morning and welcome to Wake Up Awareness. Thank you again for joining us this week. We're really happy to have everyone here. And Reverend Irma and I, Jean Kennedy, will be helping you reach your magnificence today. This show is brought to you by the Center for Spiritual Enrichment as a living memorial to our founder, Reverend Sue Constantinidis. It was our center that I learned practicing the presence of God within me and being in the present. Sue always said, be careful what you pray for. She also said to always be specific in what you pray for. Not how God is going to manifest it, but how you are open to receive it. Jesus said, pray as though it is, and it will be. We spoke a bit about treatment as prayer last week. An answered prayer is a demonstration. The wonderful expectation of a demonstration is joy in the heart. Reverend Sue also spoke of the boomerang law. Now, what's interesting is that the boomerang law truly is the law of cause and effect. It's also known as the law of attraction. Whatever you put out there is going to be returned to you. If you're going to be a jerk and go out in the world and be mean to people, then that is going to be reflected back onto you, and that is what you're going to get as an expression. If you're going to be a kind, warm, loving person, that is what you can expect back in return, because whatever we put forth is what we get back. Wouldn't you agree, Reverend Irma?
I would agree with that totally and completely. And we do get what we put out there. We have to be careful of what we say and what we do, because it comes back to you. And sometimes it comes back to you in magnificent, joyful means of demonstrations. Other times it comes back to you as a negative. So again, I say that you have to be careful of what you put out there, because it does return to you, and quite often pressed down and running over. We want the good to come to us pressed down and running over. We want the negative to go on its way and leave us alone, period.
People and things are brought into your life for reasons that may never be known on the human side of the revelation. It is all the law of attraction. Reverend Sue believed that you are here because you have some spiritual growth to accomplish, and when you have learned whatever lesson or knowledge that your soul needed, then your level of consciousness is raised to the next level, and you shed your human form. Which reminds us that we are all spiritual beings here in human form, doing the best we can at this moment.
And this moment right here and right now is why we're here this morning, is to wake up your spiritual magnificence. You are a magnificent creative source. You see, when God created everything that there was to be created, I believe that God sat back and thought, well, something else is needed here. What could that be? And then he thought, well, maybe someone who is a creative being and willing to accept the fact that they have wisdom, that they have knowledge, and that they have creative ideas that can be brought into demonstration. And guess what? You were created, and there you are, with all your creative ideas, being the magnificent person that you really and truly are. For you are a child of the universe. In other words, you're a child of God. And what you are simply is representing God as man here on this plane of existence.
I think it's interesting. In the Bible, it says that we are created in God's image. And everyone has a different idea of what that image is. And what I believe that image is that God is whole, perfect, and complete. And that is the image of God that I have within me, that I am whole, perfect, and complete, because I am made manifest in the human of God, in the image of God.
Yes, you are. We both are. And so is our engineer this morning. He's made in the magnificent image of God with all his created knowledge and all his knowingness. And we give thanks for Brandon.
We do, and because Brandon is our shepherd. He is leading us the way through the technology of the radio waves.
That's correct. That's correct. And so now that we've discussed our purpose, let's move into a state of a little bit of silence. I ask you to let go of anything that would hinder you from being in this moment as we do an evocation, allowing the presence to represent itself as you at this very moment. And so I invite you to just be still and listen to these words as we move into this time of contemplation. I theorize that there is a spectrum of consciousness available to all human beings. At one end is material consciousness. At the other end is what we call field consciousness, where a person is at one with the universe, perceiving the universe itself. Now, this statement comes from the astronaut Edgar Mitchell. And so let's boldly right now enter the field. Stretch out your mind, your soul to full capacity to see the invisible, to hear the inaudible, and feel the intangible. Let us take a walk of trust this morning. Outer eyes closed, arms extended, feet planted firmly on the ground in the center of your being. Your fixing mind surrenders to the universal mind, to the all-knowingness of God as you. Scan the landscape of human events and conditions, personally and collectively. Take a deep breath, and with your gaze affixed to all that God is being as you, see everything through the eye of your divine nature. Hear only inclusion, transcendent wisdom, compassion is. Experience an ever-quickening understanding of the way life works as you perceive it from your heavenly peak of unalterable, eternal good. And now bestow your beneficence of consciousness joyously and freely upon yourself and others, sensing from your innermost depth that it is true, all as one and one as all. Barriers of fear and separation will dissipate, and I am forever more solidly and surely on the now bigger field of universal terra firma. Answers come cleanly and clearly from within, along with the certainty as to what is yours to do, and how, and when, and where to do it. New vistas of infinite possibility unfold and excite your imagination. There is a silent, collaborative agreement made by yourself and your kindred people on the field to stand unified in the truth that frees as the personification of spirit in creatively inspired human action. And so at this moment, in the depths of your very being, give thanks for love, law, and life. live to its fullest by means of itself and all. We give thanks now for the bountiful seeds of harmony already implanted by the ancestors, for the purpose of this moment's evolutionary manifestation of pure awareness. Right where I stand, I am confident and committed to self-realization and certain that there is only God. God and I are one. All that God is, I am. All are. This is the inwardly awakened way it has always been, already is, and shall forevermore be. Let us joyfully and gratefully rejoice in the conviction and acceptance that this is the way it really is. And so it is.
And so it is.
Yes.
And thank you for being with us on Wake Up Awareness. And we are going to break away for a moment for station identification.
KCAA Loma Linda, 1050 AM, K292 FQ Riverside, and K293 CF Moreno Valley.
Hi everybody, Ray Lucia here with some important information about debt, your debt. Whether you have a first or second mortgage, you're looking to buy or refi a home or rental property, or just need to consolidate your credit cards to lower your payments and save some serious interest, you need to do some loan financial planning with Steve Alladort, my mortgage man, at loanfinancialplanner.com. Now, Steve's not your garden variety mortgage broker. He actually spends time evaluating how you can use the current super competitive interest rates to pay off your mortgage early. Purchase a rental property, improve your cash flow, upgrade to your dream home, or even help your kids or grandkids get into a house. That's what loan financial planning is all about. Steve's been helping me and my listeners for over 2 decades, and I can tell you he is the best finance guy in the business. Go to loanfinancialplanner.com, that's loanfinancialplanner.com,
or call Steve Alladort at 888-563-1070. That's 888-563-1070.
Welcome back. And currently what we're going to be discussing this morning in our lesson area is going to be the Unity Prayer of Protection. The Prayer of Protection was written by James Dillett Freeman, who was the poet laureate of Unity Churches. He was also a Unity minister. He made his transition in 2003, and he left a legacy of wonderful writings and 2 poems. One, I Am There, and also the Prayer of Protection. And these are prayers that I was not aware of, but they both went to the moon. This morning we're going to be discussing the Prayer of Protection. So please join me in a quiet space. The light of God surrounds me. The love of God enfolds me. The power of God protects me. The presence of God watches over me. Wherever we are, God is. The Prayer of Protection is known the world over, and Unity is often asked how it came into existence. James Dillett Freeman explained once in his Unity magazine column, "Life is a wonder. Let me tell you how I wrote Unity's Prayer of Protection. When World War II was raging in Europe, we received many letters and phone calls from people caught in the conflict. But for a long time, we did not have a prayer of protection that we were all satisfied with. This is how one came. Silent Unity has always written a special Christmas prayer service just for Silent Unity workers. In 1940, I was asked to prepare the service. We had never before needed a prayer for protection, but in 1940, we needed one. So I wrote one to go with the Christmas service. What I wrote was a little 4-line verse. The light of Christ directs me. The love of Christ enfolds me. The power of Christ protects me. The presence of Christ upholds me. I had hardly finished this Christmas service before Silent Unity came to me again and asked to write a protection pamphlet that we could send to people. So I did. It was called His Protecting Spirit. They told me they wanted affirmation prayers for protection on the back page. Among these was the verse from the 23rd Psalm. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. One of the young women who worked in Silent Unity was reading my manuscript as I wrote it, and as she finished it, she came up to me and said, Jim, if I were a woman in England and they were dropping bombs on my roof, or if I was a soldier and someone was pointing a gun at me, I wouldn't want to feel like I was walking through the valley of the shadow of death. Can't you do something better than that? I thought, you want me to do better than the 23rd Psalms? You really have to be out of your mind. But rolling around in the back of my mind was the little verse I had written as a prayer for protection at Christmas. I had written it just for Silent Unity, but now it came rolling to the front of my mind and demanded that I pay attention to it. I entitled it The Prayer of Protection. It enticed me to see what I could make of it. First, I took the rhyme out of it. I felt it would be more universally received. It was not a rhyme. Then I changed Christ to God. It had been Christ because it was a Christmas prayer, but I felt we were going to send it around the world. God might be more acceptable to more people. So the little prayer became, the light of God surrounds me. The love of God enfolds me. The power of God protects me. The presence of God watches over me. That is the first way we printed it. Then a line came to me I felt would make the prayer even more powerful, and the line was, wherever I am, God is. I added it as the 5th line. The prayer of protection first appeared as a 4-line prayer in 1941. When we reprinted it in 1943, it appeared in the form that it has been ever since. The light of God surrounds me. The love of God enfolds me. The power of God protects me. The presence of God watches over me. Wherever I am, God is. The prayer for protection came through change after change, not at all like I am there, when I felt that God spoke those words to me. But what is the Word of God? It is possible that no prayer Unity has ever printed has reached so many people as the prayer for protection. And for not only has Unity printed, I'm sorry, I'm having a little difficulty here this morning. It has appeared in hundreds of different publications that have no connection with Unity, and millions of people have carried it around on cards that fit into their pocketbooks, pockets, and billfolds. It has been translated into many languages. Sometimes it appears with me as the author. Often no author is given. Sometimes other people are named as the author. And I can't see my mouse. I didn't bring my mouse. It has been changed and changed again before it reached its final form, that it now meets the best of people's needs. This prayer is the product of much thought and concentration, and of a mind that is willing to stay open to receive divine inspiration. I think Unity's prayer of protection is as much God's words as I am there, as sometimes well, I'll tell you what, right now I certainly need to be in the presence of God, because my technical self is not behaving the way it should be. So I appreciate everybody's patience as we go through this, because this is a wonderful story that James Dillard Freeman wrote about when he wrote the Prayer of Protection. I think God has many ways of speaking to me, and not only in words that we hear with our ears. I think God speaks to our hearts and minds, and sometimes God's message has nothing to do with words. God is love and intelligence and life. More than anything we say God is, or even imagine God is the one universal presence and power, and is seeking to express truth and beauty and good through all of us and for all of us. I found out in researching this story about the Prayer of Protection that the Prayer of Protection went on Apollo 11, and it went to the moon. Later on another trip to the moon, James Dillard Freeman's I Am There prayer was left on the moon. So I think, I don't know, I embrace the Prayer of Protection because it does fulfill me, and it does let me know that I am protected, that God is always there, because God is within me as it is within each one of us. Reverend Irma?
Yes, thank you. God is because we are, and we are because God is. God is love, light, truth, absolutely everything that there is. God has created all of us, and as we have said earlier in our program today, that God recognizes our spiritual magnificence, and we are the creative beings that has been sent here to the planet to support each other and to watch the evolution of spirit doing its wonderful, wonderful work. And so right now, however, we will pause for a station break at this moment. And this is KCAA in Loma Linda,
where every day is a great day.
Hello, I'm Reverend Irma Forward.
And I'm Jean Kennedy.
Join us every Sunday morning at 8 a.m. right here on KCAA Radio for Wake Up Awakenings.
It's a show that wants you to step into your spiritual magnificence.
Our show, embracing the spiritual traditions of religious science and unity, will encourage you to be self-empowered and love yourself as the divine personality that you are.
So join us at 8 a.m. on Sundays, where we will help you uncover who you really are.
Join Reverend Irma Forward and religious science practitioner Jean Kennedy Sunday mornings at 8 for Wake Up Awakenings, right here on KCAA Radio, the station that leaves no listener behind.
You're listening to KCAA, your good neighbor along the way.
And now, friends, I would like to ask you a question. What would this year be like if you were fully awake and present for it all? Meaning that you were awakened to your spiritual magnificence. What would that be like? If you were fully awake and present to the life that you now have. If you were fully awake and present to who you are in every moment of the day. Fully awake and present to what brings you joy here and now. And fully awake and present to the life you are creating with every feeling that you feel, with every word that you speak, and primarily with every thought that you think. You hear us say frequently, change your thinking, change your life. But what would that awakened life look like? Well, my friends, that is your invitation from today going forward. You see, we're going to dig a little bit deeper into that invitation while exploring some fundamental new thought principles. At the same time, we are going to expose you to our basics of this trend of thinking. Today, we are looking to 4 stages of spiritual consciousness that we might experience as if we had RSVP'd to yes to this invitation of awakening. These stages of spiritual consciousness have been called kingdoms, and this definition of kingdom fits perfectly into our context this morning. It is a realm or region in which something is dominant. So this morning, we are going to look at 4 realms or regions in which a particular level of awakening is dominant. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right, let's go. Let's do this. But wait, 3 things before we go. 1, I didn't make these up myself. They originated with Reverend Dr. Michael Beckwith of the Agape International Spiritual Center of Truth many years ago. However, they are now taught throughout our movement. And then 2nd, I would like for you to indulge in what we call witness consciousness. Just observe where you're hanging out with this. Now, I said notice, not blame. Don't beat yourself up or feel not good enough because of where you observe yourself to be. Just notice. And likewise, don't be puffed up with ego or spiritual pride either. Simply notice where you are. 3rd, these may not be new to you, and you have perhaps heard them spoken of before, but if you are familiar with them, this is not the time for a nap. I invite you to have fresh eyes and ears this morning. Find out what's in here for you that you have not seen before. So, if you're ready, Jean.
I'm ready.
Okay, so let's go.
All right.
All right. Now, this first stage is called the why me, or the mortal stage. The first stage of spiritual consciousness or kingdom of awakening is more asleep than it is awake. And we have all been there and done that. It is called, why me? Or we could call it the mortal stage or kingdom. At this stage, life is a real struggle. We feel separate. We feel disconnected. We feel alone, powerless, a victim of circumstances. We think that we have absolutely no control over what is happening in our lives. Does that relate to what you may be experiencing now or what you have experienced in the past? At this stage, we think that something outside of us is doing something to us. It could be God outside of us. It could be the devil, which would be our enemy. Actually, it could be our numerological chart, the cracks on the ground, our parents, our partners, the weather, the government, you name it. And there's a perfect way, however, to know if we are in this stage. It's accompanied by quite a bit of noise, drama, and complaining. And the back of your hand is often velcroed to your forehead as you say these words. Why does this always happen to me? Or these sister words, why is this happening to me again? Or the cousin of these words, if only he or she would not do this to me, I would be okay, happy, and at peace. Do you recognize any of those? Have you said or thought any of these recently? The opportunity for awakening that we have at this stage or at this kingdom is huge. It is big. It is the opportunity to give up blame and shame and to begin to take responsibility for our own lives. We have the opportunity to awaken to the truth that we are not victims of circumstance, fate, or others. We are not victims of the economy. We are not a victim of the weather or the political climate. We have the opportunity to awaken to the truth that we are powerful and empowered beings, endowed with the very nature of that which created us, which is the ability to create. And that moves us right into the second stage of spiritual consciousness, or the kingdom of awakening, which is the by me or metaphysical stage. In this stage, we learn that we actually are not victims of circumstance. We are beginning to understand that we are part of something bigger than we are, and that there is a law or a precise and specific way this something bigger than we are works, and we can work in harmony with it. Now, Holmes writes in the Science of Mind textbook at page 38 that we are thinking, willing, knowing, and conscious centers of life. We are surrounded by, immersed in, and there is flowing through us a creative something. The sum total of our thought, will, purpose, and belief creates a tendency in this law that causes it to react according to the sum total of that belief. Ignorance of the law excuses no one from its effects. If then certain ways of thought and belief have produced limitations, other beliefs will change them. We learn at this stage. We learn that things don't just happen to us. They happen according to what's in our belief system. We learn that we can have whatever we put our thoughts to. You see, this is a critically important stage, but it isn't the final stage of our evolution in consciousness. There is an opportunity for greater awakening here also. We might say that in this stage we make things happen, and in the next we make things welcome. And thirdly, we allow things to work through me or through our mystical consciousness. In this stage, we begin to realize that we are spiritual beings, that we are having a human experience. It is called the through me or mystic stage. Now, before you freak out thinking that a mystic is the robed guru who sits cross-legged atop a mountain and ohms all day, not so. Ernest Holmes said succinctly, the mystic is one who senses the divine presence. The mystic feels God's presence. Perhaps not all the time, but certainly has extreme moments of feeling it. The through me, or mystical stage of our evolution of consciousness, is a place where we surrender more and more to the divine, where we desire to simply be an open vessel for God. It is the mystic who sings, "Use me, O God. I stand for you, and here I'll abide as you show me all that I must do." We find that we are not so attached to that particular outcome. Yet, in this relaxed receptivity, we are more available to our greatest good. We want to change our thinking and change our lives. And in this particular stage, we learn that we are creative beings. And this is an empowering place to be. And it is a place where we all need to awaken to in order to experience the beauty of life that Spirit intends for us to live, and to live wholly and completely in the experience. This is the stage where we learn amazing tools like affirming and visualizing and spiritual mind treatment, or what we call affirmative prayer. We learn that if we can see it with our mind's eye and feel that it is done, we can create it. And my friends, we can. New Thought has done a wonderful job of teaching this, and it is an important step in our spiritual evolution. Now, if you have not mastered this stage or you feel rusty, now is the time to awaken to this and to examine this stage a little more closely. In this stage of evolution, we bring in some other spiritual tools, those of visioning, present moments awareness, and forgiveness. At this stage, our prayers take on a different focus. Rather than for the purpose of manifesting something, they are more prayers of willingness and openness. In fact, at page 268 of the Science of Mind textbook, Ernest Holmes writes, "True prayer must be, thy will be done." But the implication relative to the will of God in this prayer is not a submission to the inevitability of evil or limitation. It is a knowledge that the will of God is always good. And while the stage of the mystic is a very powerful, there is another that is the Asmi, or the Master Kingdom. Christ, the Buddha, combinations of the metaphysician and the mystic. Jesus is our primary example, the master teacher. There is an absolute union with the divine. There is no sense of separation and no division. Joel Goldsmith, also a metaphysician, wrote, "Do not pray to God for things. Pray to know God, and all things will simply appear." When a mystic sees lack or limitation, he or she knows it's just a place for calling forth more of God in expression. It is just an opportunity to experience more of God. This is how Jesus could turn water into wine, feed the thousands, heal the sick, and raise the dead. When he was faced with lack or limitation, he saw an opportunity to see and to experience more of God. Now, Holmes's final words in the final conclusion of the Science of Mind textbook are these on page 423. The essence of spiritual mind healing and of all true religious philosophy is an inner realization of the presence of perfection within and around and about. It is the hope of heaven, the voice of God proclaiming, I am thou, I am that which thou art that which I am. And that which God is and that which I am is love, and only love. So during our lifetimes, we spend time in all of the kingdoms, and isn't it a linear process? We go backwards and forwards, switching from metaphorical residences, depending on the issue or situation. Remember the invitation you received earlier on in this message? What did it say? You are cordially invited to let the balance of 2018 be the year that you awaken, truly awaken to the beauty of life that Spirit intends for you to live. Where are you going to awaken this morning? Are you awakening to the realization that you are hanging out in the why me or mortal stage? Are you ready to answer and to jump into manifesting your life? Or are you hanging out in the realization that while the by me or metaphysical kingdom is absolutely and vitally necessary, it isn't the end, and that you can awaken to something even more powerful? And then, are you becoming the mystic where you allow God to consciously work through you? Not my will, but thine, as the Master Teacher Jesus said, knowing that God's will is always for the highest and best good. Or are you in 2018 ready to cultivate the as me consciousness, or step into the kingdom of the Master, where there is no separation and there is only love? Wherever you are ready to go, just know that this moment in time, Jean and I are here to support you with New Thought principles for living the empowered life. Wherever you go, know and feel that you are supported, that you are uplifted, that you are empowered. And so now, let us pray. And what we know right here and right now is that God is, because there is love. Love is only a representation of the power and presence of this spirit, this energy that we call God. For God is life itself, creating each and every moment more and more of itself. Therefore, as we lean not unto our own understanding, but lean into the passion and the glory and the joy of pure, unconditional love, we find that everything that takes place in our lives is an instance of pure love. It is an instance of empowerment, divine empowerment, allowing us to change our thinking so that our lives will manifest much more growth, that our lives will manifest pure health, peace, and harmony, and that our lives continue to manifest the abundance that we know comes from God, and we receive it because we are worth it. We simply give thanks for this day in all of its magnificence. We send love and joy around the world, around the planet, And we know that our brothers and sisters in the state of Hawaii are leaning into the power and presence of God, allowing nature to adjust itself. And they step in and allow nature to be what it is as they accept their experience of this life, looking into it, knowing that God is all that there is. Only good can come of this. We give thanks for this, for this is our true nature, one of gratitude. And so it is. And so it magnificently is. Amen.
And so it is.
And so we have given thanks for this. And we're going to turn into prayer requests. We have a few prayer requests. I'm finding that Jean is a magnificent prayer practitioner. A practitioner is one who has dedicated their lives to being a person that you can come to for prayer. And the adjustments in your life will take place. So we are giving thanks for that. This morning we're looking and making a request for Carolyn to feel peace and wellness, that there is no darkness in her life, no discord, that there is only that which is positive, that there is only that which is healthy. She relaxes in peace. She relaxes in the love that is God, knowing that God is everywhere present in her life.
And for Susan, that there is no pain, there is only good health, and that the light and love of God surrounds her and protects her and keeps her in wellness.
And for Elaine, a very powerful lady, and that she is feeling the healing process surging in and through her very being, surging in and through the physical idea of Elaine, knowing that she has the strength to follow through with this process, and that this is good and very good.
For Luthien, that good health surrounds her in the light and love of God that protects her and keeps her steady and keeps her in the wellness light of God.
And then for June and Janet and David, we just simply send our love and our prayers to this family, knowing that there is this idea of health that is flowing in and through each of their bodies right here and right now. And they embrace this idea of health and are able to step forward and move and live in this idea of perfect health and wellness.
For Jim and Judy, who are an example of the divine, the magnificence of the divine in their beliefs and their faith, and in the healing processes that they're both going through, that it is the joy of God to keep them in His light and surround them and protect them.
And then for Wolf, we know right now that he is experiencing good health. He's experiencing energy, and represents the namesake of a very powerful animal here in the animal kingdom. But what we know is that he is feeling the energy. He's feeling what it takes to experience health. And he accepts this as his divine birthright.
And for Reverend Irma, that she experiences a pain-free, wonderful day and a wonderful week and a month. And that we know and accept for Reverend Irma that God's loving grace protects her and keeps her in her well-being.
And I accept that. Thank you. And then for Patty and John, we know that they continue to be in the realm of good health, knowing that they embrace this idea of health as their divine birthright as well. And so we know without a doubt that health radiates and permeates in and through their very being.
For Jan and Judy, divine guidance with no discourse, that they know that the actions and the decisions that they make are always the right decisions, that meets their needs and fulfills their lives.
And then for Jean, we're declaring divine guidance in all areas of her life, knowing that she just simply relaxes in her knowing that God is simply all that there is and that she is always guided to make good and right decisions in all of her affairs.
And I accept that.
Thank you.
For Billy, that he has no business discord, that right action prevails in all his business dealings, and that the right decisions are there for him, that they are God provided, and he is encompassed by the light and love of God.
And then for Turner and Jordan, we are simply declaring more and more happiness for a wonderful, joy-filled future for each one of them. Knowing that they understand that God is love and joy, they accept this as a part of their being.
For Lilia, for divine wisdom to guide her on her new path, that she is always protected in the light of God.
And then for Mara, being present in the moment for all new adventures, and that these adventures are adventures that empower and lift her up to her spiritual magnificence.
And for Bob, peace and understanding in dealing with his co-residents, with the people that he lives with in his home, that he understands and accepts the differences in all, and that he is guided by God's loving light to embrace each one's difference and find joy and happiness.
And for Marilyn and Gary, we know that as they continue to travel around and experience the adventures of this wonderful country, that they continue in safety and security, knowing that God guides them and protects them at all times. And so it magnificently is. Yes. And now let's consider the fact that there are many Unity and Religious Science churches in our neighborhood, and we will have that information available to you if you are unable to locate it. Just simply call the station here and leave a message, and we'll get back to you.
Also, feel free to private message us with your prayer requests on our Facebook page, which is Wake Up Awareness. Also, post what your desires are there. You can always reach us through our Facebook page. We look forward to having you here with us next week, and we look for a very wonderful and prosperous week. And something I would like to share before we sign off today is something that's been with me all week. Ernest Holmes wrote in the Science of Mind book for the meditation of self-help, "The divine plan for me. The divine plan for me is perfect. I am held in the mind of God as a complete and perfect expression of life and truth. No power can hinder nor mar this inner image of reality, for it is God-given and God-kept. God gave and God will keep." Reverend Irma, would you like to close us out with a benediction?
Certainly. And so we're simply giving thanks for the power and the might that we are always able to experience just by simply being still for a moment and listening for that intuitive voice of God as it reveals itself to us each and every moment of the day. And so we give thanks for what has occurred here this morning. We give thanks for this station that beams the message that we have out into the universe. We give thanks for each and every person here. We give thanks for Jean. I'm thankful for myself, for our engineer, and what we know, that it is good, it is very good. All the requests for prayers have been addressed, and we look forward to complete healings in every aspect of everyone's life. This is our truth at this very moment. We wish everyone a splendid week and a blessed week. Enjoy, and so it is.
And so it is.
Amen.
Thank you. Amen. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you again next week. Same time, same place.
Okay, thank you.
KCAA Loma Linda, 1050 AM, 106.5 FM, and now 102.3 FM.
Your NBC Sports Radio update starts now.
Getting ready for Game 4. I'm Jeff Biggs, and a big opportunity today.